welcome to another edition of the Stogie Review video review. Up for review this week, I have a cigar that I talked about quite a ways back. Had to have been a couple of months ago. It's not quite the same cigar that I talked about, but it's from the same store. This is the Top Shelf Signature Select. This cigar comes from Top Shelf Cigars in Skip Pack, Pennsylvania. It's their house brand. And if you remember a little whiles back, I was doing some Don Pepin Garcia reviews. And I had mentioned that I wanted to do the house blend by Pepin for Top Shelf Cigars. And I was having a little bit of trouble getting a hold of the owner, Jim. It was probably due to my email system. For a little while here, Stogie Review was having problems with all our emails going right into the spam box when we were sending out emails. So I think we've got the problem all fixed now. And I happened to be at Top Shelf Cigars for the Oliva event that I talked about last week, the Serie V pre-launch. And while I was down there, I got a chance to talk to Jim Cronin, the owner, and he is a really nice guy. I was really surprised by just how nice and just grateful he was that all these people showed up for the event. It was a spectacular turnout. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, we got to talking a little bit, and he gave me a few cigars to review. These aren't the Don Pepin blended version. This is the tropical tobacco version that he's got. He's got a blue label, a black label, and a green label. The green is the Don Pepin blended cigars. The blue and black are tropical tobacco blended cigars. Now, a little bit of information on these cigars, and if you head over to TopShelfCigar.com, Jim's got quite a bit of information here on this cigar. It gives you some information on how the cigar came about. The cigar is only offered in one size for the time being, which is a 52 by 6. And the blue label that I have here is it's a 99 Corojo wrapper from the Jalapa Valley. It's a mid-priming. The binder is also a Corojo 99 from the Jalapa Valley, and the filler is a Criollo 98 from the Jalapa Valley. And he goes on to say that this is a medium-bodied cigar. It's very smooth, sweet cocoa and spicy hints. In addition to that, the pricing is $96 per box of 24. They come in a satin finished cedar box, or $23.80 for a 5-pack of these cigars. Now, if you want to, he's also got a sampler which contains 6 cigars total, 2 of each of the labels, for $24.95. And the reason I didn't review this cigar a little while back is because I had mentioned that I wanted to get a hold of Jim to verify that anyone that wanted to purchase this cigar actually could. I wanted to verify that he did, ship his cigars out, and he didn't have to physically go to the store to get his cigars. So now that I have everything verified and everything is good to go, I'm going to go ahead and review the cigar. So give me just a second so I can open this up, and then I've got some other stuff to talk about. And that is the IRCS, or I always screw that up. ICRS, which is the International Cigar Rating System by Colin Ganley. And I briefly went over the system before, and it was the Cigar Live modified version. And there were some good things about it. There were some things I didn't like about it. And I got actually this is a sheet here. It's got places to make markings for the cigar. It's got a taste chart, and quite a bit of information that you can fill out. Now, I spoke with Colin Ganley via email, and we discussed coming up with a Stogie Review modified sheet, which is actually what I'm going to go over today, which is actually 3 pages. It's Stogie Review friendly. And the reason I wanted it stretched out is because the other form was meant more for filling out on your computer, and I ended up writing in the margins on the back of the sheet. In one instance, getting a sheet of notebook paper to staple to it, and after talking to Colin about needing more space, we opened it up a little bit. We spread it out over 3 sheets. It gives me plenty of room, and I'm going to use it actually for the first time tonight. And this will be available for you on the website if you're interested in checking it out. And I'll go over it as we smoke the cigar. First group of information here at the top of the sheet is company and brand, which is Top Shelf Signature Select Blue Label. Vitola is a Toro, as I mentioned. It's a 52 by 6. Country of origin is Honduras. I went over the wrapper, binder, and filler. The other cigar information, I just jotted down that all the tobacco is from Jalapa Valley. Go on, ring size, length, which I mentioned, 52 by 6. The shape is a Pero. The price is, I actually jotted down the right price, $23.80 for 5. Number purchased, I was given 4. Place purchased, Top Shelf Cigars. When and where smoked, that would be here in my home on July 22nd at 5:45 p.m. And and then we'll go over the pre-smoke information. It's just, wow, this is really getting long. But anyway, the pre-smoke, and the first thing here to go over on the sheet is the scent of the wrapper, and we'll just check that out. And it's nice. Ooh, it's like sort of like pepper. When you smell a little bit of pepper, you get that feeling that you want to sneeze, and that's what I'm getting from this. Hopefully I don't sneeze, but anyway, I'll jot down this information later. Scent of the foot is the same. It's actually a little smoother it's I shouldn't say smoother, but sweeter at the foot. And moving right along, the appearance. Cigar's got a couple of average sized veins, nothing fancy or nothing over the top. It looks nice, very consistent color. It's got what I always refer to as a coarse wrap, meaning that I can see the seam in the wrapper leaf spiral right down the cigar. It's pretty obvious, but it typically has absolutely nothing to do with the way the cigar burns, draws, or tastes. It's just something that I always make a note of. The cigar feels very packed with tobacco. It's nice and firm. It feels packed, solid, all the way down. There's no soft spots, which is nice. The very middle of the cigar in the filler looks a little opened up, which typically means a nice smooth draw. And it does. It's very smooth, very free. Go over the sheet some more, make sure I didn't go over anything. Appearance, feel. Next is the tongue, in which case you actually place your tongue over the cut end of the cigar and make a notation. Aside from a little piece of tobacco, it's gives me a little bit of a tingle on the tip of my tongue. I'm not really detecting any particular flavors from it. It's just a little bit of a tingle. That's it. And the flavor on the draw, which is smooth and sort of semi-sweet. But actually that wraps up all of the pre-smoke information. So I'm going to take a break, jot down all my information so I don't forget it, and then I'll be back to actually light the cigar. I know I'm probably about 10 minutes into the video already and I still haven't lit the cigar, but I think it's worth the extra time to go over the rating sheet, or the review sheet, just so that everyone gets an idea of how it works, and particularly how to use it if and when you decide to download it, because this version of the sheet, all the instructions have been removed in order to give us more space. So it's designed more for, I don't know, someone along the lines of myself, where I can't spare the room. I need all the space I can get to jot down information. If you're interested in checking out the sheet with any more instructions on it and a more compact version, you can check it out at cigarlive.com. Daniel's got a Cigar Live modified version, and it's right there in the forum. You can get it pretty easily. So anyway, I'm done gabbing now. So I'll be back in just a sec. We'll light up the cigar and get things started. Well, welcome back, folks. I've jotted down all my information here, and I am moving right along to where I actually smoke the cigar and make notes there. My apologies for the long start there, but I'm going to try to keep the video under 30 minutes. I know that seems long, but I really think it's worth it to go over the sheet, and this way I can really get involved with the cigar, which is the most important thing. So, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and start toasting my cigar, as you can see. And I've been getting a little bit of email, not lately, but over the last couple of months I've seen a couple that say that I should consider toasting a little further away from my cigar so that the lighter, doesn't get quite as close to the cigar, so I can avoid charring it. So I'm giving that a try. Same with the light. I actually want to hold it a little way and just use the heat from the lighter and not the actual flame to light the cigar. I'm finding it actually quite difficult to do with this Calibri lighter because the entire case is metal, so it gets pretty hot just leaving the cigar, or just leaving the lighter ignited for actually a few seconds. It's pretty warm. Well, I'm all lit up, nice and even, getting a good level of smoke, good flavors out of it already. It's nice to start. It's got a. First thing I noticed is it's got a little bit of an edginess to it. I'm already picking up a peppery flavor, more of a peppery sensation way in the back of my throat. It's a very mild irritant, but it's a mild irritant in the throat, but it kind of it stimulates the back of my tongue, and it actually produces a pretty nice flavor. I'm still getting a peppery, like a peppery sensation, a peppery flavor, peppery aroma through my sinuses when I circulate the smoke out, through my sinus passage. The same sweetness I was detecting in the aroma and on the pre-light is in the base flavor as well, and it's a really enjoyable start. In addition to the start, I've already got a nice real light ash starting already. It's pretty even. I'm assuming that, or I shouldn't say I'm assuming, I know for a fact that it's actually a little bit off because of the way I lit the cigar, but it's not off very much, and I'm sure that that's going to straighten right out, and it'll be nice and straight. But anyway, so far it's starting out real nice. The finish is fairly short. It's it fades relatively quickly. It doesn't hang long on the palate. It's a little bit longer, more through the sinus cavity than it is on your tongue and on your palate. It's nice. The smoke gives you a real thick feel, almost like that syrupy kind of texture that you get on occasion with really thick smoke. The body's about medium to full, and so far it's real nice. So I'm going to smoke a little bit further, and I'll be back to go over the second, third. As soon as I get a little further into it. Oh, but before I do, let's actually follow along with the sheet a little bit, and go over the draw. because it's probably important. But I had mentioned earlier that the draw is very free, and the pre-light draw is free. When the cigar is actually lit, it produces lots of smoke, and the draw remains free. And it's kind of right in the sweet spot. It's not too loose. It's not too tight. It's really nice. So far the cigar is doing fantastic. So with that out of the way, I will be back after a short break, and we'll be we'll go over more of the cigar. So stay tuned. I'll be with you in just a second. Well, folks, welcome back. As you can see, I'm still pretty much in the first third. I just thought it was worth coming back and discussing a little bit more of the cigar. I'm going to try to keep it brief so that the video doesn't get too long. But the ash is nice and light. It's very compacted. It's firm. I've ashed one time so far, and I really had to kind of force it off the cigar. And the reason being, I didn't want it to accidentally fall if I kind of bumped the cigar. So rather than try to have my own personal long ash competition, I just felt that I'd probably be better off if I just kind of knocked the ash off. So that's exactly what I did. The burn line is pretty even. It's also very thin and crisp. It's and it puts off pretty mild, or I shouldn't say mild, but a pretty light resting smoke. And it's got it's sort of sweet, and the room aroma is sort of sweet, and it's not offensive at all. It's quite pleasant. The flavor is much like before, except for that little bit of an edginess that I had that was kind of irritating the back of my throat. It's pretty much non-existent now. After I got a little bit further into the cigar, the flavor seemed to develop just right, and that little bit of an edge that the pepper flavor had really dissipated, and it really rounded everything out pretty well. Now, and also, I'm drinking water, and what's also kind of interesting is after you take a sip of water and you sort of cleanse your palate a little bit, there's some like mild coffee and creamy flavors that come forward from the cigar, which again is a nice characteristic. It's complex. So far, it's smoking very well. My only complaint thus far is that the wrapper that's on the cigar seems to be very thin and delicate. If you're accustomed to smoking a variety of Cameroon wrappers, this is about as delicate as those Cameroon wrappers will be. Where if you jostle the cigar around just a little bit too much, you may develop a small crack, or you may get a little bit of a peeling effect going, which actually I do, which is from putting it in my mouth, kind of biting down on it gently so that I can type away on the computer. And as I pull the cigar out of my mouth, I'm getting a little bit of a tear developing from maybe just biting just a little bit too hard, but I don't have any indentations going, so I think it's more along the lines of the wrapper's kind of thin, but it really hasn't developed into anything severe. It's just a minor tear, and it's actually the first cigar that's happened with, so we'll just chalk it up as a fluke so far. This is actually my third, and if things keep going at this rate, I'm going to have to be smoking that fourth one very soon, and then resupplying. Well, that's a quick little interruption here. So I'm going to take another break. I'll be back. We'll go over to the second, third, and we'll go from there. Well, folks, welcome back. And as you can see, I'm getting pretty far into the second third of this cigar. I typically smoke pretty far past the band, so don't let that fool you into thinking that's an indication I'll be finished soon, because I got quite a bit of cigar left. The body's beginning to build. It's still medium to full, but it's kind of ramped up a little bit. It's not quite full, but it is a little bit more intense than it was. The finish is still very short. It's smooth. It's easy on the palate. It's developing a creamy-like flavor. The syrupy-like feel I was getting in my mouth from the really thick smoke is beginning to subside. It's subsiding. It's not so thick anymore. And the base flavors are pretty much the same as they were. There's a little bit of pepper in there. There's just a very rich and deep tobacco flavor. There's some sweetness involved, and there's a little bit of edginess coming back on. It's not really irritating the back of my throat anymore, but you can taste that the tobacco is becoming a little bit edgy. And it's not becoming edgy in a bad way. It's not offensive, or it's not really downing the experience. It's not bad. It's helping round things out. But I would really prefer that it be a little smoother. But it's still pretty good nonetheless. The burn is still very good. The draw is still very free and easy. It produces lots of smoke. The resting smoke's pretty much the same as it was throughout the entire cigar. It's fairly light. It's making a nice aromatic smell. The ash is nice and compact. It's light in color. It's pretty firm. It hasn't been dropping all over the place. It's a very well constructed cigar. It's performing very well. It tastes good. And I'm just very happy with it at this point. You still get some of that coffee flavor that comes through, especially after you take a little bit of a sip of water. It really seems to bring it forward. It's there without partially cleansing your palate, but it just seems to really come through more when you wash your palate just a little bit, and which makes me think that this would be a really good cigar, kind of mid-afternoon. It's a little bit full-bodied for morning cigar, but mid-afternoon with a cup of coffee, I think it'd be fantastic. And without jumping too far ahead, still working on my Stogie Review modified ICRS rating system. It's pretty self-explanatory at this point. You go over. There's just more information. You add information to the taste, to the space for taste. You can make notations on the actual cigar that's on the sheet as far as when you're getting flavor changes. There's a mention of strength, which I kind of cross out and put body. That's how I interpret it. I don't like to use the term strength, but a lot of people do. You've got columns for the scent of the smoke, which I had already mentioned is rich and aromatic and mildly sweet. There's a column for heat on the fingers and mouth, and so far everything has been very cool. It hasn't been overly hot or harsh or any of that. As I had mentioned, the draw is very free. The finish, I went over that as well as the ash. And there's a column for other aspects of the smoking experience, which is where I jotted down the information on the wrapper leaf being fairly thin, and the thin burn line, even burn, the overall good construction. And that about wraps up the sheet. And there's also, just as I mentioned before in the other time I had mentioned the sheet, or the Cigar Lab modified version, there's a flavor chart on the side which becomes very helpful in a pinch. There's times when you get that flavor on the tip of your tongue and you just can't, the words just don't come to you. You'd be able to look at the sheet and pick a flavor, and I found it very helpful. That about does it for the sheet. I'm just going to keep adding to it as I go. There's no real need to go over it anymore. That about does it. And I think that this expanded version is right up my alley. This is exactly what I needed. I'm not writing in the margins, and I'm not writing on the back of any of the sheets just yet. And I plan on punching 3 holes, sticking this in a binder, and keeping it as a cigar diary. And also, there's a place for the band on the first sheet. I don't know whether I mentioned that or not. But you can stick the band on there and use it just as you would a cigar diary. I'll put them in plastic sleeve protectors, just because I'm sort of anal like that. I like to keep everything neat and organized. But anyway, I've got, maybe a half hour left of cigar, so I'm going to get to that. and I'll be back for the final third, and we'll just bundle up the overall impression and wrap things up right from there. So I'll see you in just a sec, and I'll let you be on your way. Well, folks, welcome back, and it's about time to briefly go over the final third and wrap this cigar up. And so far, it's been a pleasure to smoke. The base flavor has been very consistent. It hasn't changed much in terms of flavor. The base flavor is pretty much has been the same throughout. It's a rich tobacco flavor. It's got some sweetness in it. It's got some black pepper flavors. And I really like that mild coffee flavor that you get that just kind of comes over your palate after a small sip of water. Overall, I think that it's a great flavor profile. The body's still medium to full. It seems to have plateaued. It's built, but it hasn't reached what I would consider full body. It's still kind of just teetering on the edge of medium to full. It really helps round things out. It's not too much. It's not too light. It just seems to really settle things out, and it does very well. The finish is still pretty short. I mean, you take a puff of the cigar, and in less than a minute, your palate feels like everything's faded. You don't have any lingering flavors on the tongue, on the roof of your mouth. It's very smooth and creamy. It's just a very enjoyable cigar. That little bit of a tear that I developed in the thin wrapper, it really hasn't become a problem. I had a little piece flake off, and that was the extent of it. The burn has been excellent. It's very even. It's light colored ash. It's firm. It's compact. It puts off fairly light resting smoke. It's got a good aroma. I just can't say it enough. It's been very good. The draw still produces lots of smoke. The only thing that's becoming a little bit of a problem is right after you take the band off, you kind of hit a little bit of a rough spot. And it's due to a little bit of overheating. Just because the draw is so free, you really have to slow yourself down. And if you don't gradually slow down as you smoke through the final third of the cigar, it's going to develop a little bit of a harshness or a little bit of an edge to it. But other than that, it's been great. I really like it. Overall, I think that if you enjoy medium-bodied cigar or medium to full-bodied cigars that have like a really rich tobacco flavor to them, that you'll really like this cigar. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think if I were to compare it to any cigar line, I think I would compare it to maybe a Camacho, but more balanced, not so much full flavored, or not so full bodied in the palate. It's got sort of a similar flavor profile to a Camacho. It's just more. It just seems to be a little more rounded out, a little easier on the palate, and the flavors just seem to come through a little bit more. It's not. A lot of people consider Camacho cigars to be a little unbalanced, and this one, while it isn't a Camacho cigar, I think that it's sort of similar to the Camacho, but it's not unbalanced. It's very good throughout the entire cigar. So if I had to compare it to any cigar line, I think it would be closely compared to maybe a Camacho Corojo or something similar to that. And I've been at this cigar for quite a while now, actually. Take a look and see. I started smoking this cigar 2 hours ago, and I'm just finishing it now. So, the burn rate is great. It's been a pleasure to smoke without going over and above. As I mentioned before, this is the Top Shelf Cigars House Blend. They're only available at Top Shelf Cigars. Like I mentioned, I spoke with Jim personally, and he said that he ships these cigars out. So if you give him a call, if you like what you've heard and you want to give him a try, give Jim a call. You can hit him up on his website at topshelfcigar.com. He's got a toll-free number that you can call. He's got an email address. contact him. He'll be more than happy to ship out some cigars. Purchase some cigars. He'll be more than happy to ship them out to you. So overall, I really enjoyed the cigar. The price point is a good value for the cigar. And without sounding like a broken record and keep saying I enjoy the cigar, I'm just going to end it there. It's a good cigar. And that about wraps it up for the Top Shelf Signature Select Blue Label. And as always, really appreciate you guys for watching, leaving comments, emails, all that stuff's been great. Keep the questions coming for your questions, my answers. Episode 15, we'll be shooting that sometime this week. It'll be up this weekend. Without any further ado, I'll let you get back to whatever you were doing. Sorry for keeping you so long. I try to keep the videos under 20 minutes, but with going over the rating sheet, I kind of stretched this one out, so my apologies for that. But anyway, happy smoking.